Good morning. Welcome to the Virtual Unitarian Universalist Church of the Monterey Peninsula. My name is Peggy Hansen, and I'm currently serving as a member of our church's Board of Trustees. We are a congregation of people of different ages, races, classes, religious and sexual orientations, gender identities, and political views. Our purpose is to change our own lives, even as we work to change the world around us through love, learning, and service to others. If you are a visitor with us today, please fill out our virtual visitor card. You can find the link in the Zoom chat box or on the church's website. Our worship theme for this month is UU Sources and Spiritual Practices. Today's service, Practicing Joy, is led by Reverend Elaine Gehrman and Worship Associate Sue Ellen Stringer. You should have received a link to our order of service in Friday's email. You can also always find a link to Sunday services in our church website. The church office and church building are closed, but church life continues by phone, email, and Zoom meetings. Please contact the office by email or phone if you would like to receive our email weekly news, which has more information about church activities and initiatives and how you can stay involved in church life. Our shared offering recipient for August is Palenque Arts, a sanctuary in Seaside for those who demonstrate the goal of healing, vibrant, thriving community through the arts. Half the cash from our offering this month and checks designated for Palenque Arts will support this group. Please consider sending checks to the church office. You can also contribute through our church website using PayPal. Just click on the Donate button in the upper right-hand corner of the home page. We are also still collecting funds to support purchasing takeout meals for iHelp participants. Just write iHelp in the memo line of your checks. And we continue to accept donations to the Ministerial Discretionary Fund to help our church members who are in need. If you yourself need either financial assistance or computer assistance or equipment, please contact our co-ministers or the Caring Network Committee. Now, please enjoy our musical prelude.
Slowly, slowly, they return to the small woodland alone. Great trees now spreading and upright, apostles of the living light. Patient as stars, they build in air, tier after tier of timbered choir, stout beams upholding weightless grace of song outlet sing on this place. They stand in waiting all around,
Let us gather for worship in the spirit of these words adapted from Heather Ryan Starr. To soulfully survive the world's mayhem. May whatever activities we engage in help restore our connections to one another, our sense of hope, beauty, and gratitude in this world, our deep knowing that we have to take care of ourselves and each other with love and joy if we are to soulfully survive the world's mayhem. Come, let us worship together.
And now please join as we sing Whoa Ya Ya. Here we go. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will. And we'll get there, heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh ya ya, oh ya ya, oh ya ya, oh ya ya. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will. And we'll get there, heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh ya ya, 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 oh ya ya,
With Unitarian Universalists throughout the world, we light our chalice, the symbol of our covenanted aspirations of love, hope, and justice. I'll begin with the words of the leader and ask you to join in the unison response. We gather together as a community of memory and hope to celebrate life and its infinite possibilities for love. We light this chalice as a symbol of the light within every human heart. May our individual sparks meet and merge, bringing both light and warmth to the world. Our story for all ages today is I'm in Charge of Celebrations, written by Bird Baylor, illustrated by Peter Parnell, published by Charles Scribner's Sons. Sometimes people ask me, aren't you lonely out there with just desert around you? I guess they mean the bear grass and the yuccas and the cactus and the rocks. I guess they mean the deep ravines and the hawk nests in the cliffs and the coyote trails that wind across the hills. Lonely? I can't help laughing when they ask me that. I always look at them, surprised. And I say, how could I be lonely? I'm the one in charge of celebrations. Sometimes they don't believe me, but it's true, I am. I put myself in charge. I choose my own. Last year I gave myself 108 celebrations, besides the ones that they closed school for. I cannot get by with only a few. Friend, I'll tell you how it works. I keep a notebook and I write the date, and then I write about the celebration. I'm very choosy over what goes in that book. It has to be something I plan to remember the rest of my life. You can tell what's worth a celebration because your heart will pound And you'll feel like you're standing on top of a mountain, and you'll catch your breath like you were breathing some new kind of air. Otherwise, I count it just an average day. I told you I was choosy. Once I saw a triple rainbow that ended in a canyon where I'd been the day before. I was halfway up a hill standing in a drizzle of rain. It was almost dark, but I wouldn't go in, because of the rainbows, of course. And there at the top of the hill, a jackrabbit was standing up on his hind legs, perfectly still, looking straight at that same triple rainbow. I may be the only person in the world who's seen a rabbit standing in the mist, quietly watching 3 rainbows. That's worth a celebration anytime. I wrote it down and drew the hill and the rabbit and the rainbow and me. Now, August 9th is Rainbow Celebration Day. Another one of my greatest of all celebrations is called the Time of Falling Stars. It lasts almost a week in the middle of August, and I wait all year for those hot summer nights when the sky goes wild. You can call them meteor showers if you want to. Me, I like to say they're falling stars. All that week, I sleep outside. I give my full attention to the sky. And every time a streak of light goes shooting through the darkness, I feel my heart shoot out of me. One night, I saw a fireball that left a long, red, blazing trail across the sky. After it was gone, I stood there looking up, not quite believing what I'd seen. The strange thing was I met a man who told me he had seen it too while he was lying by a campfire 500 miles away. He said he did not sleep again that night. Suddenly, it seemed that we two spoke a language no one else could understand. Every August of my life, I'll think of that. Friend, I've saved my New Year celebration until last. Mine is a little different from the one most people have. It comes in spring. To tell the truth, I never did feel like my New Year started January 1st. To me, that's just another winter day. I let my year begin when winter ends and morning light comes earlier, the way it should. That's when I feel like starting new. I wait until the white-winged doves are back from Mexico and wildflowers cover the hills and my favorite cactus blooms. It always makes me think I ought to bloom myself. And that's when I start to plan my New Year celebration. I finally choose a day that is exactly right. Even the air has to be perfect, and the dirt has to feel good and warm on bare feet. Usually it's a Saturday around the end of April. I have a drum that I beat to signal the day. Then I go wandering off, following all of my favorite trails to all of the places I like. I check how everything is doing. I spend the day admiring things. If the old desert tortoise I know from last year is out strolling around, I'll go his direction a while. I celebrate with horned toads and ravens and lizards and quail. And friend, it's not a bad party. Walking back home, kind of humming, sometimes I think about those people who ask me if I'm lonely here. I have to laugh out loud. The end.
Joy practices. I wrote in my journal for the new year, my long-term intention is to cultivate more joy in my life by practicing the 8 pillars of joy. I got this idea by serendipity, finding the Book of Joy, written by Douglas Abrams when he interviewed His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. To quote both of them from the first page, The Invitation to Joy, quote, "No dark fate determines the future. We do. Each day and each moment, we are able to create and recreate our lives and that very quality of human life on our planet. This is the power we wield. Lasting happiness cannot be found in pursuit of any goal or achievement. It does not reside in fortune or fame. It resides only in the human mind and heart, and it is here you will find it. Every day in a new opportunity to begin again. Every day is your birthday," unquote. The 8 pillars of joy are perspective, humility, laughing at ourselves to develop humor, acceptance meditation, fourfold path to forgiveness, gratitude journaling, compassion meditation, and generosity practices. The first pillar of joy is perspective, or self-distancing. Look at your problem from the bigger picture, from the broader perspective that goes beyond your own self-interest, that involves the interests of others. Look at your problem 10 years from now, from a God's eye or universal perspective. The second pillar of joy is humility. We are all equally beloved children of God, as the Archbishop would say, or one of the 7 million people on the planet. We are all in it together. Reflect on all the people who are responsible for your life. Think of your parents, teachers, the people who grow your food, make your clothes, the people who discovered and created the things you take for granted each day, the housing, the technology, the medicines that keep you alive. All your ancestors who had to struggle and survive so that you could be born and have the life you do. Now think of all the family and friends that give your life purpose and meaning. Allow your heart to open and love and appreciate all these people on planet Earth that we depend on and that all that we have been given. Bless the strength in our togetherness. Third pillar of joy, laughing at ourselves to develop humor. Think of one of your limitations or faults or something funny about yourself. The Dalai Lama laughs at his limited English. I laugh at my tendency to procrastinate writing deadlines. When something is less than perfect and kind of funny, laugh at yourself. Laugh at life when something doesn't go your way rather than get enraged. Fourth pillar of joy, acceptance meditation. Breathe in. Let your thoughts float by. Accept the reality of the situation. Accept that you might not know all the factors of the event. Say the serenity prayer. Fifth pillar of joy, fourfold path to forgiveness. First, tell your story. Second, name the hurt. Get in touch with the feelings, pain. Third, grant forgiveness. Recognize the humanity of the other person and that they hurt because of their own suffering. Fourth, renew or release the relationship. Sixth pillar of joy, gratitude journaling. Think of 3 different things you are grateful for, very specific, and write them down. Variety is the key. 3 different things every day. Seventh pillar of joy, compassion meditation. Breathe a couple of deep breaths. Think of someone you love. feel your love, the tenderness, and silently say, may you be free from suffering, may you be healthy, may you be happy, may you find peace and joy. Now think of yourself and silently say the same 4 lines. Now think of someone you have difficulty with and silently say the same 4 lines. Now think of everyone on the whole planet and silently say, may all beings be free from suffering, may all beings be healthy, may all beings be happy, may all beings find peace and joy. 8th pillar of joy, generosity practices. Material giving of your income or tithing. 2nd, giving freedom from fear, giving counsel or solace to others, being present for others. And 3rd, spiritual giving, giving wisdom or teaching to others, or walking down the street with a smile on your face, giving joy to others. The last joy is belonging to a community that you can practice your joys with and live in relationship with. And I certainly feel that way about our beloved UUCMP community.
And now please join as we sing Sing and Rejoice. We'll sing it once in unison and twice in a round. And when you get to the end of the round, just keep repeating, sing and rejoice. Here we go. Sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. Let all things living now sing and rejoice. Sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. Let all things living now, let all things living now, let all things living now, let all things rejoice, let all things rejoice, let all things living now, let all things living now, let all things living now, sing and rejoice.
This is the time we take each week to pause and think about what's been happening in our lives and the lives of those we love and care about, whether they're close by or far away. The Caring Network shares one joy with us, a joy for Oliver Falling, who's turning 15. Many of us are very glad that the local fires seem to be largely contained and that many people could return to their homes. We're thankful to all those working to fight the fires and all those who opened their homes and their hearts to those in need. We each bring with us our own joys and sorrows that are on our minds and in our hearts. We'll now drop a few pebbles representing your individual joys and sorrows into our shared waters of love and support. If you like, you can write your joy or concern in the chat. Just be aware that it may be more public than usual. You may also contact the co-ministers of the Caring Network privately. As a meditation for us this morning, I have words from Reverend Sean Parker Dennison. After the spoken meditation, we'll have a few moments of silence. Please join me now in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Always calling. I have been called countless times, just this morning, just this moment. This breath that I am holding for one extra heartbeat is calling. This tiny speck of dust floating above me in the light is calling. This child with sticky hands that wants me to look is calling. This task, this thought, this plan that crowds my overcrowded mind is calling. This day, rushing through hours toward dishes and chores before bed, is calling. This dream of before you died and longing for more time is calling. This deeper sleep, dreamless, empty time of repair and healing is calling. This joy and that sorrow, the tear that mingles both with compassion, is calling. This place and this whole world full of suffering and beauty is always calling. This now is time for our morning offering. We encourage you to think about your financial support for this, your church home, and the resources we require to carry out our good works. We encourage you to write a check and drop it in the mail, or you can use the donate buttons on our website. You're also encouraged to contribute to our shared offering recipient, Palenque Arts, and to our fund for I Help Meals, and to the Ministerial Discretionary Fund to help our own members in need. And now please enjoy our offertory music. have one reading for you this morning. It's written by Ross Gay from his book entitled The Book of Delights. This is from the preface. He writes, "One day last July, feeling delighted and compelled to both wonder about and share that delight, I decided that it might feel nice, even useful, to write a daily essay about something delightful. I remember laughing to myself for how obvious it was. I could call it something like The Book of Delights. I came up with a handful of rules. Write a delight every day for a year. Begin and end on my birthday, August 1st. Draft them quickly and write them by hand. The rules made it a discipline for me, a practice. Spend time thinking and writing about delight every day." Because I was writing these essayettes pretty much daily, confession, I skipped some days, patterns and themes and concerns show up. For instance, I traveled quite a bit this year. I often write in cafes. My mother is often on my mind. Racism is often on my mind. Kindness is often on my mind. Politics, pop music, books, dreams, public space. My garden is often on my mind. It didn't take long for me to learn that the discipline or practice of writing these essays occasioned a kind of delight radar. Or maybe it was more like the development of a delight muscle. Something that implies that the more you study delight, the more delight there is to study. A month or two into this project, delights were calling to me. Write about me, write about me. Because it is rude not to acknowledge your delights, I tell them that though they might not become essayettes, they were still important and I was grateful to them. Which is to say, I felt my life to be more full of delight. Not without sorrow or fear or pain or loss, but more full of delight. I also learned that my delight grows, much like love and joy, when I share it. One of my more frequently used phrases over the past few months is, "These are challenging times." And it's true. Many of us are preoccupied with the global pandemic, economic uncertainty, wildfires, politics, and all of the other fears, worries, and uncertainties of life that can be challenging to manage. Some of us get more involved in causes we care about. Some of us pull back from the news and troubling discussions, and some of us don't know what to do and are just trying to cope from day to day. Sue Ellen and I are asking you to consider trying the spiritual practice of joy. Now, some of you may remember that several years ago, I told you about my obsession with watching the online live video feed from the barn owl nest camera that they had set up in Moss Landing. Over the course of several weeks, 8 eggs hatched into little balls of fluff and eventually into adolescent barn owls crowding the box and eventually fledging. I'm not normally really any kind of voyeur, but I have to tell you, watching those baby birds grow gave me an inordinate amount of joy. So, have you seen the new baby panda cam at the National Zoo website? that tiny, hairless, pink, wriggling, squeaking baby panda cradled in its large black and white furry mama's arms? It is amazing. I have spent too much time this past week trying to catch quick glimpses of that little thing as its mother moves around the enclosure, nursing and licking and comforting her tiny offspring. And for the past 4 months, on and off, I have been watching a lot of the Ventana condor nest cam. Condor number 1031 was hatched at the end of April and has been growing ever since. Its name is Iniko, from the Nigerian, meaning born during troubled times. I was so sad to learn that the Ventana Condor Release and Research Centers were destroyed by the Dolan fire this past week. They had the nest cam still broadcasting right up until the fire burned through the camera cables on August 21st. But they are hopeful that Iniko and 4 other condor chicks will survive. There's a good record of condor chicks surviving previous fires, and condors in this area have been coping with fires a lot longer than we humans have. But still, it's worrisome. Through watching Iniko grow via the nest cam, I have become very attached to this creature who has given me such joy. There are many ways we can find joy in our lives. Joy as a spiritual practice is not necessarily the first thing most of us think of when we think of spiritual practices. I tend to associate the phrase with more reflective, quiet, somber activities. Meditation, silent retreats, fasting, studying sacred texts. But I must tell you that I am really drawn to joy as a spiritual practice. Now, Sue Ellen shared with us the 8 pillars of joy that the Dalai Lama and Bishop Desmond Tutu laid out: perspective, humility, humor, acceptance, forgiveness, gratitude journaling, compassion meditation, and generosity. And there are more. In his book, Joy on Demand, Chade-Meng Tan, engineer, author, and philanthropist, says that he discovered that joy can be accomplished by training our mind to access it. He has achieved this largely through meditative practices, but not exactly the type of meditation we might think. He asks, what is the absolute minimum amount of meditation practice before there's any sort of benefit? His answer? 1 breath. He says, you may close your eyes or keep them open. Take 1 slow, deep breath. For the duration of that 1 breath, give your full attention to your breath in a gentle way. Total and gentle attention on feeling your breath. That is all. He likes to tell his students that they just earned themselves new bragging rights. They just spent an entire meditation session without losing their attention even once. Meng says, being able to be fully present for the duration of 1 breath allows the body and mind to enjoy a precious moment of rest and recovery. He recommends that every time you have to wait for something, take one of these mindful breaths. Whether it's at a traffic light, or standing in line at the grocery store, or waiting for your computer to start up, take a mindful breath. This practice aids in training the mind for joy. He says the next step in the training is simple. It is simply to notice joy. Whenever there is any joy arising in our field of experience, even it is merely a subtle hint of joy, simply notice that there is joy. That's it. That's the entire practice. He says noticing joy is like noticing blue cars, or cars of any color of your choice, on the road. When you're in traffic, blue cars pass you by all the time. Usually, you don't notice them at all. But if you play a game of noticing blue cars, you'll find that they are everywhere. There is joy to be found in so many moments of our lives, though it may be subtle and fleeting. For example, with that pleasant feeling of warm water on the skin as we get into the shower. Joy arises immediately, but we seldom notice it, and it fades away in seconds. The practice is simply to notice when joy is there. The more you notice these thin slices of joy, the more they appear to be everywhere, because they have always been there. You just never noticed them before. So now do the one mindful breath exercise. Take one deep breath mindfully. If any hint of joy arises during the breath, simply notice it. That's all. If no hint of joy arises, no problem. Simply notice that too. Like prayer, the spiritual practice of joy requires noticing and paying attention. Meng says, whenever you engage in an activity that involves a pleasant experience, take at least one moment to attend fully to the joy that pleasantness invokes. At each meal, attend fully to the enjoyment of at least the first bite. When seeing a loved one, especially a beloved child, take one moment to appreciate that they are there and attend fully to that joy. When holding hands with a loved one, take one moment to attend fully to the joy of that contact. And again, when taking that shower, attend fully to at least one moment of the enjoyment of our body's contact with warm water. When out on a nice day, take one moment to attend fully to the enjoyment of the beautiful weather. In general, when seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, or touching something pleasant, bring full attention to the joy for at least one moment. And when interacting with a beloved person, bring full attention to the joy of being with that person. It sounds so simple. I think often we forget to do it. Our own Unitarian Universalist religious forebear, Ralph Waldo Emerson, encouraged us to write on your heart every day that each day is the best day in the year. Ross Gay, in his Book of Delights, found so many things to be delightful. Crows, bobbleheads, tomatoes, fireflies, hummingbirds, songs, coffee, trees, and more. I have to tell you, I find joy and delight in a lot of things too. Some of them you might find a little frivolous or silly. I love when sunshine hits a prism or crystal and makes rainbows, so I have various crystals hanging up around our house and garden. I love succulents that look like undersea creatures, and I've made a succulent garden seascape in our backyard. I love my volunteer shift at the aquarium, and I can't wait to get back to it. Also, I love being a docent at Point Lobos, pointing out to visitors otters and sea lions and whale spouts. I'm a sucker for curling up with a good novel, doing jigsaw puzzles, trying new recipes, and watching lots and lots of movies. And I do love those owl and panda and condor camps. I spend a lot of time working, but I also make sure to have time for lots of things I enjoy, for work and for relaxation. So many things make me happy. And I don't think this is frivolous. I think it can be life-saving. There is pain and worry and despair and confusion in all our lives, but joy and delight can ease some of these hard feelings and remind us of the many aspects of life we have to be grateful for. Anne Frank, who had so many hardships in her short life, said, "Think of all the beauty still left around you and be happy." Adrienne Maree Brown is a social justice facilitator focused on Black liberation. In her book, Pleasure Activism, she writes, "True pleasure, joy, happiness, and satisfaction has been the force that helps us move beyond the constant struggle, that helps us live and generate futures beyond this dystopic present, futures worthy of our miraculous lives." She says, pleasure, embodied, connected pleasure, is one of the ways we know when we are free, that we are always free, that we always have the power to co-create the world. Pleasure helps us move through the times that are unfair, through grief and loneliness, through the terror of genocide, or days when the demands are just overwhelming. Pleasure heals the places where our hearts and our spirit get wounded. Pleasure reminds us that even in the dark, we are alive. Pleasure is a medicine for the suffering that is absolutely promised in life. And the wise Vietnamese Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh says, "Life is filled with suffering, but it is also filled with many wonders. The blue sky, the sunshine, the eyes of a baby. To suffer is not enough. We must also be in touch with the wonders of life. They are within us and all around us, everywhere, anytime." One final way to practice joy is to wish joy and happiness for others. Chade Meng Tan assigns this homework to his students. He says, secretly wish for 2 random people to be happy. 2 people who walk by on the street or who are near you, or if no one else is near, just bring 2 people to mind and just think, I wish for this person to be happy, and I wish for this person to be happy. One of Meng's students liked this practice so much, she called it her happiness ray gun, and she added a pew pew sound effect in her head whenever she secretly wished for passers-by to be happy. Pew pew, pew pew. Feel free to do the same. This is the joy of loving kindness, the selfless joy that comes from just wishing more joy into the world. It is painless, free, wholesome, and can actually add to your own joy. Henry Nouwen, the Catholic priest and author of The Wounded Healer, said, "Joy does not simply happen to us. We have to choose joy and keep choosing it every day." During these days that can feel full of uncertainty, loss, frustration, pain, loneliness, and despair, I hope you will remember that you have the choice. You have the ability to create your own celebrations, to practice joy, to look for daily delights, to seek pleasure, and to wish for the happiness of all those around you. There is more joy somewhere. We got to keep on till we find it. There is more joy everywhere. So may it be. Amen.
And now please join as we sing Joyful, Joyful, We Adore Thee. Joyful, joyful, we adore Thee, God of glory, God of love. Hearts unfold like flowers before Thee, as we as the sun above. Melt the clouds of sin and sadness, drive the pain of doubt away. Giver of immortal gladness, fill us with the joy of day. All thy works with joy surrounding, earth and heaven reflect thy rays. Stars and planets sing around thee, center of unbroken praise. Field and forest, vale and mountain, blossom and meadow, flashing sea, chanting God and flowing fountain, call us to rejoice in Thee. Thou art giving and forgiving, ever blessing, ever blessed, wellspring of the joy of living, ocean depths of happy rest. Ever singing march we onward, victors in the midst of strife. Joyful music lifts us onward in the triumph song of life.
Please join in the unison words as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this chalice, but take its light into our lives to be the presence of love in the midst of fear, the voice of hope in the face of despair, and the hands of justice restoring a world worthy of our children. And now, please take someone's hand, or imagine taking someone's hand for our benediction. May we walk softly, speak truthfully, love gently, breathe deeply, live wisely and joyfully, and go in peace. Amen. Now please enjoy our wonderful postlude.
Listen to the sound of my voice. Can you feel the beat of my heart? listen to